This is the prelude to 666. This right here, what you see going on, this is the prelude to all of that. I know it can't happen until I leave, but it sure can start. It sure can get started. They sure all recruiting. You hear people talking about one world government and all these other things. That is true. One world currency. That's where they're headed to. But there's something holding them back. Do you get that? I said something holding them back. You said, what could it be, prophet? Did I just not go tell you about Beelzebub and Jezebel? What held them back is one word out of the mouth of the prophet that they know was true. Because they know whatever I ask Daddy, he gonna back it up. Did you get that? Just like Jesus said, Father, I know you hear all of my prayers and answer them. My God. Woo! I ain't heard nobody shout. This is a warning to you guys. You have become too fleshly and too secular to be a threat to the kingdom of darkness. Because when the kingdom of darkness see its attributes in you, it become more aggressive. See, because if your weapons are not bigger than their weapons, why would they not overtake you? You know why Russia haven't overtaken America? Not just because I'm here, because the weapons are bigger. And more proficient and more accurate. Why? Because, watch this, America always advertise what they can do. Russians keep their secret. Why? Because watch this, the ones that America's advertising, they're about 20 to 50 years old.
That's right. Come on.
They're so old, they're about to retire them. The weaponry. The new stuff, they ain't showing nobody. Because America's saying, what I'm going to show you going to make you fear how much more that I don't show you. You get that? But watch this. Even as advanced as the American army and military is, they can't touch the weapons that we have. We have weapons they never heard of before. We have weapons that will only shoot by the DNA of the person that got it. One soldier can take out many military strongholds. Just one. And you're afraid? For what? I'm afraid of dying. You're supposed to already be dead. How dead folk gonna be afraid of dying? But let me share this with you. The little sidebar. When we talk about the prelude, watch this. It's an action or an event, listen, serving as an introduction to something more important. How many people have you seen their test with the coronavirus? That's really their test, and it's really serious. They recruited these movie stars, these actors. They're going around and say, I got it. Where is their test? Who have died? Watch this. And watch this. If they died, who know what they died from? I watched it this morning on NBC. They had this guy. He's a guy who does all the background work, and he does all the hold the big mic out there for the people that are going, the correspondence going all over the world. And so he passed, and they say his pass is directly related to the coronavirus. Who knows that? They're using a high-profile person to attach to, associate to what the president is doing. Because remember now, a year and a half ago, they were saying that the president going to proclaim something of an emergency so he can stay in office for another 18 months. This is before this came out. But don't you know new diseases show up every year? They just chose this one. But who knows where corona came from? They say it came from bats, and are y'all paying attention to me? Y'all better listen, because your future peace is associated with this, not the peace of God, but the peace that did not come in your house and taken over. Never before in America have Americans obeyed the government to this degree. Never. Never. There's so much social complicity that it blow your mind when you see people. They don't even think, well, they said we got to stay at home, and you're going to stay at home just because somebody told you on the news. It's not official. Nobody showed up at your door in a uniform said the president said you can't go to church. Hello? They just throw a little nuggets out there and let the news media throw some nuggets out there. Right? Do you get that? So that now you bring them to a lawsuit. They say, we didn't say that. Why? Because they're violating the Constitution. The Constitution says we got a right to assemble and right to freedom of speech. And both of those are, watch this, totally done away with when you do what they said without raising some sand. It's constitutional. How are you going to violate the Constitution by which you swore your hand to that you're going to uphold? Now, all of a sudden, when your way gets shaken, you're going to go on this side and say, well, I didn't really raise my hand. I was teasing. Now I'm going to use what they're saying against the Constitution to undermine what I want to do. Did you get that? But all of it is in total violation of what God told us. God said we're to obey what he said, which elevates above the law. Because if you're above the law, you're in obedience to everything. We're doing what God said, which is good. And the reason why I say it's the prelude to 666. But watch this. I just think when we used to watch these movies all the time when my kids was young. How in the world would anybody take the mark? That was over 40 years ago. Well, that's about 30-something years ago. Because my son is 41. How in the world would anybody take the mark? Now look, after them years, they got the minds of the people so transformed in the reverse that all the president got to say, do this. You ain't hearing nobody saying God said not to do that. Nobody saying in this church we're going to serve the Lord. You don't see that nowhere. Even from the greatest ministers down to the least ministers, you don't hear none of them saying that we're going to resist what they're saying because God told us we can't do it. Watch this, watch this. Back in the day, you couldn't have a liquor store open on Sunday. You didn't have nothing. The city was shut down on Sunday. Now they got gambling. They got liquor stores. They got everything. Why? Because remember now, when the guy who was the president of the NFL stood up and said, the day that the church used to own, we got it now. That's why football is on Sunday. Everything is a test. Watch this. What did you just say? For something more important. They're running all these little tests, all these little things, because what's more important that's coming is 666. One world government, one world currency, one world control, one world domination. Daddy was telling me this morning when I was preparing that, he said, now watch this. He said, people are telling you that what you minister is controlling the people. He said, but they're not saying nothing about the president. They're not saying nothing about the medical authority. He said, they're not saying nothing about people. I don't tell you not to go to work. I don't tell you shut yourself up in your house and can't come out. I don't tell you got a 9 o'clock curfew that you can't get home. I never told you that. He said, but look at how Satan, who's working behind the government, who's working behind the medical industry, who all are making money. President Trump has made over $4 billion from the Kremlin since he's been in office, which is totally illegal and in violation of the Constitution. No man can enrich himself or enumerate himself while he's in office. But look at how, and $4 billion just from one source while he's in office, ain't been off for 2 terms. He ain't even been off for a full 4 years yet. So he has so enumerated himself throughout his hotels, all over the place. He's supposed to relinquish all of that just to be the president. Because the presidency must be more important than all of that stuff. But look how his family has shot up. This sucker was losing money. He said in his tax, he lost $1 billion in losses. That's about broke. Nobody checked him out how much money he really has. They just believe his lie. They believe the propaganda. You talk about Russia when it was really Russia. You need to talk about America while it's still America. Are y'all still listening or y'all afraid? Ooh, they going to come in here and get her. Well, we preach in prison then. We'll turn that sucker out. We'll be getting folks healed and delivered over there. Did Apostle Paul do it? Him and Silas turned the prison into a sanctuary because God got involved and they began to sing and God got to moving because God liked what he was hearing and God patted his foot and an earthquake happened and the gates came open. That which confined them had to release them. Somebody ought to shout. There ought to be some righteous that are willing to pay the price of a criminal behavior by doing what God has said. You ain't killing nobody. You're just resisting their lies.